Is this sound setting cheating? Well, this was something I discussed on stream last week. And when I did it live, I had some problems at the beginning of the stream starting it. It was a little convoluted in the way that I explained it. And if you really didn't already know about this, I think I did a pretty poor job, really, explaining and talking about it. And a lot of you guys have been asking if I am still using this setting that I turned on. So, straight up, right off the bat, the setting that I'm talking about is called sound equalization. And if I pull my settings up here, you just go into base Windows settings into the actual device, and there's audio enhancements. Some of them have this, some of them don't. And there's a way to turn it on to any of them. But if I go into the full sound settings here for playback devices, I will show you one of them that does. Within one of the audio settings, you can go to enhancements. This is extra things that you can do, bass boost, whatever. The big one that most Warzone players, especially at the highest level, use is called loudness equalization. And what this does, as I enable it here, I will change. You can hear this is relatively quiet of a sound. It's subtle. Things that are quiet, like footsteps. If I go into a firing range here, you hear a little bit of the background noise. Holy sh! But that's a lot louder, right? If you're going to take a sniper shot, because sniper bullets are very loud. So I'll turn this down to a reasonable level here. Now you don't even hear the ambient sound of what's going on inside the firing range here because it's so subtle, it's so faint. You can barely hear my footsteps. Very quiet. Okay? Now, if I... that shocked me, actually. If I go to my speakers and I change it to that equalization cable, now all my audio is equalized. So this is much louder, and if I go back to that firing range, turn the volume up higher here, back to its normal. This is like the normal audio level. So you would expect, if you can hear the sound of the background this loudly, when I shoot this, it's going to blow your speakers, your eardrums right out your ass. But it's really not that much louder, is it? I'll turn the overall thing down here a bit. Not that loud. Shoot a gun, it's pretty quiet. But you can hear this clanking and this background ambient noise, like it's just... What? We're in such a loud area. What the hell is it so loud for? This is what the loudness equalization is doing. So I have this setting on that if I turn off now, the gun's still about the same level, but now you can't hear those soft sounds. And the idea is that this allows you to hear all of the footsteps of everything that's going on in the game, but you can't tell the distance out to how far that enemy actually is. And I think this is the way that a lot of the top tier players are really using this, especially the people who are pulling off crazy high kill games. They're no longer using sound as an indicator of how close or far somebody is. They're using it as an indicator for essentially UAV. They're good enough at fighting or whatever that they're going to win all of their gunfights. They'll lock on with the aim assist, whatever they need to. Their skill with the mouse is so good. That's not even a concern. They just need to be able to find more people to kill and know where they're coming from, where they're at, the direction. If they know the direction, they can figure everything else out. And I think they've played long enough on this setting, especially because this was something a lot of people did even back in Warzone 2, where they've turned the audio up to such an insane level. They know where everybody's coming from. They know where they are. And especially in solos, I find this to be super interesting because if you have flex as well in this game, which is a new perk that lets you hear, it enables it so that sounds that didn't even exist past 15 meters, you can't hear anybody sprinting, doesn't even exist. Now it does. And if somebody slides, you can hear that out to like 50 meters. If somebody jumps, you can hear it out to like 50 meters or so with flex on. And so if you have flex and you have this setting, you will 100% hear the person that is 50 meters away perfectly. You know that they're out there. And now you can turn your attention towards that direction and know they're out there somewhere. Listen to the material that they're on. Is it water? Is it on the ground? Is it on wood, steel, on a roof somewhere? And they could use this to push after somebody and attack them. The one other thing that I tried to show in the video was this voice meter. So this is essentially a mixer. This is like what I have on my desk here, so I can take my voice channel for my voice, my microphone, the game sound, and Discord, and turn the volumes down separately. I can do that on my mixer here. I used to use this program. Now I'm using this as a virtual cable for that equal cable that I showed you guys. So I'm exporting the audio only to this equal cable, to virtual cable, what would normally be an actual physical cable plugged into a speaker, plugged into the microphone, you know, going over, is just happening virtually, so I don't need to have any hardware. So I plug in the game sound into here, and then it goes into my headset here. So it allows it, so just this is getting equalized. And then if I decide to pull up a YouTube video, which is what happened in the past when I tried this in Warzone 2, I would pull up a YouTube video and I'd turn the volume down to really quiet because it was too loud. And then of course it equalizes it, so it still cranks it back up, and everything was just so annoying to use on the computer. So this was the best solution that I had. And then there was another thing. This was all I found in Artie's Wars video about this, that allowed me to then enable this setting, that if your device doesn't have it, basically you can get that setting of loudness equalization, because it's just in Windows. They have this setting hidden. You can change the registry, but there was a good program by Falco to turn it on. So that was kind of the premise of it all, and why I had all of that, and what I was testing for it, and how I see it in my eyes of players using it. Now, I've decided not to continue to use it, because after running it in squads, I felt like I was just getting bombarded with too much noise. Everything was so loud. I'm not trained enough. Of course, the day that I did it in squads too, we were running nukes, and I put 100 gifted on the line. So I was just out of my mind trying to listen to stuff while also, like, I'm coming back to the mouse and key. I'm not as fluid on it. It was way too much. I just didn't like it. Now I'll give it another run in the future to see if it's something that I'm going to want to do. But realistically, the audio settings that I have, which is a bit of compression, is kind of a middle ground between the two. And I have this in my settings video for it all, so you can see my Rode Duocaster is what I use, my mixer. But essentially, it's just a basic compressor, which makes it so that any noise that is too loud, like that sniper shot that's super loud and going to blow your speakers out, it curbs it all down. So it clamps the high end of what it can do. There's still a little bit of room there. I have a 3-to-1 ratio on it, so it'll bring it down a third of what as loud as it is. So I can still hear all the close range minutia with the volume up, and then anything that's further away is just, I can kind of still get a read on it, but it's only after a certain audio threshold that happens. Hopefully that's a better overall explanation of what's going on with the audio and where I'm at with it, at least. The other question was, well, how come you don't do the Art is War tweak? There's a couple other tweaks that are out there that are like this, that essentially what that is the next stage of loudness equalization. What they've done is taken some other software in order to change exactly how the loudness equalization is happening. They're not hacking the game and doing any other additional tweaks to it or gaining any additional insight that is not there. If a footstep plays in the game, they're just trying to isolate to that sound better with the tuning that they've done, essentially making it surround sound, 7.1 surround sound, and then dumbing it down for stereo audio, as well as changing the profile of the way that the sounds work. So things that are not super important aren't showing up, like in certain audio ranges. They just dumb all of those down, like UAV announcer calling things in, whatever. It's just subtle things that they're turning down so you can hear it better. That to me went a little bit outside of the scope of, I didn't want to download a bunch of programs and do a bunch of tweaking for the sake of all of that. Now, will I do it eventually? Maybe, because there is a certain extent, if you can't beat them, join them. You could say, well, why don't you start hacking then? Well, that's actually against terms of service, and also that's a whole nother thing to discuss. But this is not a bannable thing. This is something that people use in the World Series of Warzone. In fact, loudness equalization, I even asked in the tweet, that was how I had initially started my stream, was I had asked JGod, is this allowed? I don't know, because he follows a lot of this more so, and Repulse and those guys that have a great podcast for all the competitive scene and stuff. And he wasn't even certain of it, but Joe Woe hopped in and said, yeah, it was allowed. That, as well as even controller overclocking, was allowed too. I assume that was what he talked about with overclocking in the tweet. And so these are all things that are like, if you're not doing it, it's the same extent then, okay, well, why aren't you playing on PC versus in Xbox. If you play on PC, you're going to get more frame rate. It's a way better experience. You can play in higher graphic fidelity, crank the settings, frame rate's great as well. To the same extent, why don't you have a monitor that's lower input latency? That's OLED, that's in 1440, not playing on 1080, whatever, all of the steps of all of the process. Like, you're going to get better with better hardware for it. Pay to win, essentially, right? But that's how it is. It's not a fair game on all of the rest of it. So maybe there's an argument there. I don't exactly know. But I play for what I enjoy and have a good time with. This is where I'm currently at as, obviously Mr. Streamer who has the super high-end computer, who has all the stuff. I think personally there's more of an argument that things like aim assist on PC should be nerfed, similar to what Apex Legends does, to give a better chance to the console players who don't have the same advantages for the same reason, and to actually make it more fair. But that's a discussion for another video. If you are interested in any of that, let me know. Let me know what you think about this, about the audio. Is it completely bogus that I even have a compressor for my audio? A lot of people have these types of things even through their own mix amps that they have even for console games. None of that is super crazy. People will even use this for their own audio routing and settings for usually more robust of a setup if they are going to have something like that. There's other separate compressors and things. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's even over the top. But I try and put on at least a good stream experience, and I think it's a better stream experience, too, to hear the audio a little bit better with it. That's just my 2 cents. That's where I'm at. Maybe it'll change in the future. We'll see. Thanks so much for watching. And a big thank you to my supporters, the tier 2s out here, the Mountaineer Sergeants. These guys are supporting over in Discord. You guys can subscribe over in Discord. Send 5 alerts to my stream every single month if you would like to celebrate the goodness. Or if you don't want to sub directly on Discord, you can even just subscribe on YouTube. If this is your preferred platform, my main channel, I'm live over there every weekday. You can subscribe over on Twitch, even Twitch Prime it over there. But an extra thank you to those guys, and it helps out all the content that I create and do even more for you guys, including a little extra behind-the-scenes series for all the subs over there, regardless of your tier with it. But thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Stuntman64, over and out.